Urahara's lack of fear is one of the most fascinating aspects of his character. He states in his Volume 6 poem, "Yes, there is no fate for us. Only those who are swallowed by ignorance and fear miss a step and fall into the rapid river called fate." Urahara has been betrayed, exiled, and what could be a great villain, Urahara works against the grain to be a better person. His lack of fear can be traced back through his philosophies about godhood, people, and power, with his Zanpakuto being a direct symbol of his purpose in Bleach.
I see. So you saw it, didn't you?
Urahara and Aizen are both geniuses who push beyond Soul Society's limits, but their philosophies split in opposite directions. Urahara created the Hogyoku to test the boundaries of possibility, only to steal it away when he realized its danger. Aizen saw that same creation as a key to transcendence, his means of shattering heaven's throne and placing himself above fear, death, and limitation. Their relationship isn't built on direct battles, but on mutual recognition. Aizen respected Urahara as one of the few minds who could truly challenge him, while Urahara saw Aizen's ambition as a threat to the balance of all worlds. From the surface, Urahara seems stagnant, a man guarding the status quo even after exile. But if you watch closely, he outplays Aizen at every turn. That stagnation is restraint, the choice to break past limits and then step back. Aizen sees the cracks in the system, and a corpse propped up as God. Urahara's answer is humility, refusing godhood, accepting suffering, and choosing understanding over domination. Aizen didn't see the Soul King as God, but also did not despise the position either. He saw the Soul King as a mutilated corpse, nailed in place by the nobles. To him, the universe must be ruled by will, by a God who truly governs, and that God would be himself.
I refuse to accept a world ruled by that thing! I am the victor! I shall decide how the world should be!
Urahara's answer is subtle, but stronger. Control is a cage, experimentation is freedom. He saw past the Soul King, understood what it meant, and then still chose to shut the door. I believe the true difference in ideals is this. Aizen and Urahara both see the benefit of the Soul King's position, but Urahara understands why that position must remain inactive. Like Aizen, an active god driven by desire and ambition is dangerous. Even with good intentions, replacing the structure with a new authority will inevitably harm those forced to live under it. This clash of ideals over godhood, control, and the Soul King's purpose would not be the last time Urahara's philosophy is tested. Urahara is a scientist. He values research, curiosity, and the opportunities that knowledge brings. The world is not just a structure of rules, but also the people who live within it. The Hogyoku would come back into play again, igniting an even greater conflict in Can't Fear Your Own World against Tokinada.
Sir, please forgive us, won't you?
You're fine. At ease, gentlemen. At ease. Relax. Don't worry, man.
Now, Tokinada isn't chasing Aizen's ambition. He wants a controllable new Soul King to rewrite the entire system rather than mimic it, with himself as God, of course. He secretly engineers Hakone, a perfect hybrid like Ichigo, built to become the new Soul King and Tokinada's puppet. Tokinada's goals are to destroy common sense, expose the afterlife to the living world, reveal Kampaku and Hollows, and let religion, law, and culture implode under the weight of truth. Tokinada's detachment from consequence, punishment, or any established value doesn't stem solely from his position as a noble. To Tokinada, everything in the world is fake and all strange. Tokinada stated in Can't Fear Your Own World, "Oh, let me spell this out for you so you don't have any misconceptions. Nothing I said was a lie. It really is a strange world where a man like me doesn't get punished." Even while seeing the world as fake, he understands the real threat of Urahara, someone he wants to avoid, but who is also essential to his plans. Aizen underestimated Urahara's values. Tokinada tried to challenge where Urahara placed his values. People. This is Urahara's greatest strength. Urahara's people's first mindset is never directly stated, but you can see it through his actions. For example, in Can't Fear Your Own World, when Asagi is playing reporter and discussing Urahara's monumental role in defeating Yhwach and the Stern Ritter, Urahara tries to downplay his contributions, like creating a pill to encase Shinigami in Hollow Ryatsu and enabling access to the Soul King Palace. He claims he just happened to use a plan he had already prepared, expressing gratitude for being able to implement it. Hisagi believes that's an oversimplification and suspects Urahara keeps a vast number of plans ready at all times. And Hisagi is right. Let's not forget the insane complexity Urahara employed in defeating Askin. As he said in his own words, if you make 1,000 preparations and use only one, it was worth it. Looking at the pieces he assembled, Yoriichi, Nell, Grimjow, it's easy to see that his philosophy and best plans always boil down to how he can elevate others. Tokinada's choice to target people in order to force Urahara's hand into creating another Hogyoku was a critical miscalculation, because one of the main reasons Urahara sealed the Hogyoku away was precisely people. Tokinada reveals that Urahara created the Hogyoku to more than just blur the line between Soul Reapers and Hollows, intending to create beings powerful enough to replace the Soul King, sharing the load instead of relying on just one existence. Hogyoku isn't just a plot device, it's a key tool that defines Urahara's character and separates him from other villains in the story. Why did he choose people? Why did he choose a different path? Urahara could have easily become an Aizen or a Tokinada, but he's not selfish. He's a scientist. As he once stated, if we are talking about creating something no one has ever seen, then that has to be done with your own hands. That's what it means to be a scientist. Creating the Hogyoku so others bear a burden they never asked for, in his mind, is no different from what the nobles did to the Ryu. He told Yoriichi, "Hisagi-san is probably under the impression that I created the Hogyoku for the sake of the Ryu. He's wrong. The sequence is reversed. I just wanted to create something new. I merely used the Ryu as an excuse and a key. The creation of the Hogyoku I personally view as the sole factor that dismisses any fear that Urahara would have about the world. Urahara didn't create the Hogyoku to gain power or manipulate others. The Hogyoku was meant to act as a bridge for evolution, a way to test the boundaries of possibility, not a weapon. But when Urahara discovered that it responded to the hidden desires of those around it, he realized how dangerous it truly was. The wish-fulfilling nature of the Hogyoku, it's anti-science, and it goes against Urahara's philosophy."
Let me ask you something, Mayuri Kurotsuchi. Would you be interested in leaving this place with me?
I believe the rivalry between Urahara and Mayuri is a perfect representation of Urahara's ideals in relation to the Hogyoku, people, and his absence of fear. Symbolically, the nest of maggots represents stagnation, a kind of spiritual hell where unwanted souls are locked away and forgotten. Urahara explains that fundamentally, he is no different than Mr. Kurotsuchi, who sacrifices many in order to fulfill his craving for research. He believed that by providing an outlet for Mayuri's scientific madness, in this case, leadership of the Research and Development Institute, he could channel that chaotic energy into productivity. He doesn't fear what Mayuri can become. He trusts the framework, believing Mayuri's nature as a scientist will lead him to make the correct choices. And he does. Without that single act of mercy, Soul Society's future would have been far darker. Imagine how events might have unfolded without Mayuri's brilliance during the Quincy War. This continues in Can't Fear Your Own World, even into the Hell one-shot. Mayuri has done a complete 180 from who we met back at the start of Soul Society to the Shinigami he is today. Taking this microscopic rivalry and bringing it to the macro level, Mayuri is people. Freeing him is absence of fear. The Research Institute is the world, and instead of the Hogyoku being the answer, Urahara becomes the example. He does not fear the structure of the world. He accepts, lives, learns, heals, and grows with it. In Buddhism, it's stated the Four Noble Truths are: 1. The truth of suffering, acknowledging the dissatisfaction and pain inherent in life. 2. The truth of cause, identifying craving and attachment as the root cause. 3. The truth of cessation, stating that suffering can end by eliminating craving. And 4. The truth of the path, which proposes the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide to ethical and mental practices to achieve this liberation. Symbolically, these four noble truths are what Urahara is choosing to accept. The world doesn't work without friction, and to embrace friction is to accept fear, which in part leads to not having fear. You don't fear what you understand, and understanding is what Urahara attained through the Hogyoku, but placing it back, he accepts fear's purpose in a world as something not to run from, but to embrace. Urahara is almost at a place of nirvana within the world of Bleach, operating above, around, and below the world, aware of fear, yet absent of fear, which leads to stagnation and pursuits of godhood.
I call it Hogyoku.
Hogyoku? What is the sensation?
As we know, Bleach's story is rooted in Buddhism. Mayuri Zanpakuto, Asasogi Jizo references the Jizo Bodhisattva. the Buddhist figure who travels through hell and every realm to guide lost souls to salvation. In this way, Urahara becomes both warden and liberator, the one who opens the path for Mayuri's transformation or enlightenment. You can explore this more in my video about Mayuri and Nemu, part of my ongoing Bleach playlist. These symbolic references, like all Buddhist motifs in Bleach, are not accidental. Kubo steadily builds his series on Buddhist principles while expanding into other religions and theologies to round out the story. Urahara and his man of the people attitude, freeing Mayuri, creating the Hogyoku, standing opposed to Aizen and Tokinada, and his absence of fear, connect him directly to the Sentamani jewel, the legendary wish-fulfilling jewel in Buddhist tradition, and a motif reflected directly in Urahara's Bankai. A bodhisattva is an enlightened being who denies their own nirvana, choosing instead to remain in the cycle of suffering to guide others towards salvation. This is exactly who Urahara is at his core, and represented by him putting the Hogyoku back and never making another one. Creation of the Hogyoku is a direct tie to the Sentamani jewel, which represents light that answers need and dispels ignorance, often depicted as a flaming jewel held by the bodhisattva, Kanin, which is also part of the direct name of Urahara's Bankai. Kanin Barakai, Benihime Artame, Kanin's unfolding, Crimson Princess of Revision. Who is Kanin? The very bodhisattva who holds the Sentamani jewel, the wish-fulfilling jewel of compassion and enlightenment. Kanin is the one who hears the cries of the world, even in hell, taking whatever form is needed to guide beings out of suffering and despair. Bleach has always been a tapestry of religions and philosophies, Buddhist, Shinto, Christian, Gnosticism, and more, but Urahara's role and his Bankai truly stand the closest to the heart of Buddhism. Aizen represents domination. Tokinada represents exposure through pain, but Urahara, he represents liberation through understanding. Urahara has no fear because to those who will unmake the three realms, he is what they fear. His understanding of the world and his trust in people, it outstrips ambition, intellect, and manipulation of every villain who has ever tried to challenge the balance. Why fear the world when you've already evolved past its structure? Why seek godhood when you've chosen to stay behind and guide others to the same enlightenment instead? Fear is an essential part of the messaging of Bleach, and fear is an essential part of life. We do not know what exists beyond us, but every day we can fight and claw for peace, understanding, and acceptance. Like Urahara, we can only prepare today for the unknown of tomorrow. That's all for me. Thank you for stopping by the cafe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Peace out, Zealots.